Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to today's session of How I Met My Spiritual Guru, Mohanji. My name is Pia Petrakul, and I'm a Mohanji Acharya. And to start this session, I would like to invoke the Gurus. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Para Brahmane Vitmahe Shiva Tatvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohana Prashodayat. Om Para Brahmane Vitmahe Shiva Tatvaya Dhimahi Tanno Mohana Prashodayat. My spiritual journey began from a fairly young age. I'll share a little bit of a background about myself, just so that you guys can have a little bit of an idea. So I was born and raised here in the U.S., and I grew up in a Thai family, and there's a Buddhist temple that we would attend on the weekends, and it was a big part of my life and my culture to attend this Thai Buddhist temple. During summer school, there would be teachers that were brought in from Thailand to teach us about Thai language, Thai music, Thai dance. So I'm so grateful that I had that growing up here in the U.S., because it gave me a strong sense of identity and a very strong sense of where my parents came from and who I am, what type of culture I am. So they would teach us meditation. When I was young, we would learn about like meditation and how to breathe, breathing meditation techniques. So I was introduced to that from a very young age. And I remember that sometimes we would have these weekend meditation camps where we would dress in all white, and we would go into meditation class and also prayer, do some prayers in Bali. The Bali language was the prayers that the monks do. And I always wanted more, though, kind of like I always wanted to deepen my studies with spirituality and go deeper, I remember. But that didn't happen until later on. Later on in my 20s, I was gifted a book at a mind, body, spirit festival that was happening in my area, and it was called Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard about that book or if anyone's ever read it. That book really changed my, I think it changed my life. It was very exciting for me to read about Yogananda's journey and his stories of his experiences. They were so magical, the way he described it. And that was my first introduction to gurus and to the culture of Hinduism and to spiritual India. And through reading that book, I became so enchanted by his experiences, where he would describe about how his guru would manifest in front of him in his room, and the way he described the cycle of life, of cycle of karma. These were like really big questions that I had in my mind growing up. Like, where do we go after we die? And understanding like the cycle of karma, of birth and death, and what happens when you have good karma or bad karma, or why is this happening to me in this life? And growing up as a Buddhist, we believe in past lives. So we're always talking about if something really good happens in this life, we always say, oh, we must have did a lot of good in our past life to receive this credit or to have this good. Or if something bad happens, then we always say, oh, there was, we must have did something bad in our past for it to happen. And just the way that Yogananda describes it in his book, it was just so fascinating for me, and it explained things so well for me, and it kind of on a certain level like satiated, or it kind of filled up my hunger, my spiritual hunger at that time. And I really, really was fascinated, and I really liked how he described his guru. And he talks about Kriya Yoga in his book. And so while reading his book, I developed this deep desire, deep yearning, and deep want to also have a spiritual teacher in my life. I really, really admired that he had that type of guide, that person to hold his hand and to help him evolve and explain things to him in that way. And I also became very interested in Kriya Yoga, and I was wondering, wow, what kind of technique is this Kriya Yoga that helps spiritual progress? Because he talks about it very much in the book. And so from that book, I came to know that something called Kriya Yoga exists, and that spiritual gurus do exist. And from that book, I had this deep longing to also have a spiritual teacher, spiritual guru in my life. And I remember in the book, he also talks about Mavtar Babaji, who is Mavtar Babaji. He's a guru who resides in the Himalayas, and he's in his subtle form. I remember there was a photo of him in that book. And in the book, I remember it said that whoever speaks the name Babaji, simply uttering his name, and through uttering his name, through speaking his name, he can hear your prayers, and he can hear your desires. So I remember reading the book and also speaking his name, and not really asking him for anything, but just to speak his name one night. I remember that. And even though I learned about those techniques in the book, I didn't really take any action in my life to go and find out where I can learn about Kriya Yoga or anything like that. I just remember reading the book and being really inspired by the story and really, really wanting to learn about it. Fast forward 10 years later, I also got a chance to visit Yogananda's ashram located in Encinitas, California, during one of my visits to California and visiting my friend. And his ashram is so beautiful. It's right by the ocean. And I just remember it being like a really peaceful and tranquil place. And there wasn't anyone there, but I kind of wish that I met someone, because I had so many questions in my mind about the self-realization fellowship. And I had so many questions after reading that book. I really wish that I met someone, but there wasn't anyone there. It was just me. And I just remember it was like a really peaceful, tranquil place to kind of just sit in. Fast forward about 10 years later, I began to continue my spiritual search, and I came to a place or a time in my life where I felt like it was like the dark night of the soul, or like a really dark time in my life where I was feeling really anxious. I had a lot of anxiety, and I was feeling a lot of stress, and I was under deep depression. I would have so much anxiety that sometimes I would get shortness of breath. I wouldn't be able to breathe, And then I would just get so nervous doing normal daily activities that people should be able to function and normally do, like going to work. I would feel so much anxiety and tension like in my heart, and I wouldn't know why. Um, I just arrived at a place in my life where I was really unhappy with my own self. I was very discontented and just very unhappy. I wasn't happy. I didn't feel good enough. It was a very low point in my life. I had a low sense of self-worth, and I was in a place where they call it resistance, but I was always like comparing myself to other people, and I just was very unhappy, and I felt so unfulfilled. And one of my friends told me about a a saint who was visiting from India, and she visits once a year. Her name is Amma, or the Hugging Saint. And so I was really excited to visit Amma during that year. And I remember I was working in the pharmacy, and I rushed out of work to go receive this ticket, because you have to get a ticket ahead of time so that you can get in line to meet Amma to receive your hug. And so she was there in the Crystal City Marriott in Virginia. And I remember that it was such a beautiful ceremony. I remember the musicians playing, and they were singing bhajans. The music was so beautiful, and it was so peaceful. It was so uplifting of the atmosphere. And I remember, so as we sit, wait our turn, and I remember as I approached getting closer to Amma to receive a hug, I just felt so overwhelmed with emotions, and I started crying so much, even before I received my hug, just slowly coming into the physical proximity of Amma. I just felt so much emotions. I didn't know what it was. I started crying and crying. It was like a huge emotional release for me that day. And that was my first experience of meeting an Indian saint that I know of, or that I'm aware of. So that was my first experience of introduction to Indian saints. And so I became very interested in that the culture after that, after meeting her. And fast forward to the year 2017, in my late 30s, I again just felt very unhappy with my life. I felt like I was at a dead end in my life. I was so depressed. I felt like I was walking on eggshells with my partner. It was just so explosive. Like all the conversations I would have would end up in a big fight, and like a lot big crying and really reactive. I was a really emotionally reactive person, and I remember we have an argument or disagreement with my parents or with my partner, and that would just put me down for days and days and days on, where I would feel so low and so depressed. And I began to meet different people, different friends within the circle. And a friend had invited me. Her name's Judy. She invited me to an event that was being held by Swami Bhaktananda from South Africa. He came to Virginia to offer a weekend retreat program that I attended, and I'm so glad I attended that program. So when I attended that program, I just really liked his message, what he was teaching, during that program. His main message was how important it is to just be yourself completely. Because at that point in my life, I think I was really disconnected with myself, and that's why I was feeling so unhappy. The last time that I really remember being carefree and graduating from high school, I remember that I was very vibrant and happy. After that, I just felt disconnection, usually. And then I just remember he was so funny, and his messages, was so funny, and he just made everyone laugh, like full belly laughs. And he spoke about his guru, Mohanji, and that's actually how I came to know about Mohanji, through this retreat with Swami Bhaktananda. And so I had a really good time at the retreat, and I met some really nice people there. And I found out through Kim, who was also at the retreat, that Mohanji offers Kriya, consciousness Kriya initiations. And so that's when I became really interested in learning more about Mohanji, because this Kriya yoga is what I read about several years ago in Autobiography of a Yogi. When's the next Kriya initiation? I really have to go to this training. I really want to go and see if I can learn about it. And so after that YouTube, Mohanji's YouTube videos, I was still going through a really hard time and feeling down and depressed. So before I would go to sleep, if I would have a hard time falling asleep, I'd go watch his YouTube videos, Mohanji's short little clips where he talks about how to face different problems in life. And I just felt that his messages were really powerful, really on target. And it was like clear advice, practical advice that I could apply in my daily life, things that I could understand and that were made sense to me. And I feel like he was speaking to me and on how to solve some problems in my life. So I started watching his YouTube videos and became connected to him in that way. And at that time, I was searching different places. I went to like a McLean Bible Church in Virginia, and also like different Hindu temples. I was really searching for some comfort through a church or through institution in that way, church, but I couldn't find anything that was like kind of practical, or I didn't find anything that was able to address my issue that I was going through until I was watching his videos on YouTube. And then I came to hear about a retreat in Rishikesh in December 2017, and that my interest. I became interested in it because at that time I had a desire to visit like the Himalayas for some reason, specifically visiting India, to go to the Himalayan mountains. And I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie with Julia Roberts, Eat, Pray, Love, through her journey, or she visits India and talks about her spiritual journey there. So that was another thing that got me really interested in India. And of course, also reading Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. I just heard about this retreat. Then here's this retreat happening, and it's going to be in the area of India that I wanted to visit. So that's what sparked my interest, and I wasn't sure if I should go or not. And I remember in a group session that we had with Swami, a group session, and I remember asking him, I said, Swami, there's Mohanji's having a retreat in Rishikesh, and I'm wondering if I should go or not. And he said, you should definitely go. You're going to definitely be changed afterwards. And so that was another encouragement for me to go. I did have some challenges though going, before I could reach India, because my immediate family, my mom said, how are you going to go to India all by yourself? It's a dangerous place for a lady to go by yourself. Like you're going to go all by yourself. And she was really, really against it. And also with my immediate family, with my partner Edward, he didn't want me to go either. He said, "You're just going to leave? Like, how are you going to leave me? You're going to leave your son? You're going to go there and just leave us on your own?" And it was just a difficult decision. It was a difficult decision, and to be honest, I was scared too to go to India on my own because because I heard a lot of stories of tourists going to India and all the problems that they would face. So I was scared myself too. So I wasn't sure if I was going to go or not. And I became connected. Someone connected me to Preeti from the UK. And I remember speaking to her about it, and she was really supportive. giving me advice on how to get the visa, and also tickets, booking tickets, and also navigating my way through Delhi, and get me nice and supporting me to go to this retreat support. Then I think it would have been much more challenging for me to attend the retreat, the first retreat. But I did make it, and I was doubting myself the whole time. Though, there can I go on my own, all by myself, to India, and I'm leaving my family. No one wants me to go. Why am I doing this? I kept doubting myself and doubting myself every step of the way, even on the plane, even when I got there to India. And I didn't have any issues. I arrived there in the middle of the night. I ended up staying in the same hotel as Preeti in Delhi, her wing, and she showed me the city, Delhi. She took me shopping, and she took me to different places to eat and things. And I'm so grateful that she was there for me. Otherwise, I would have been there all by myself in a different country. So grateful to have that support. And it wasn't until I took a internal flight to Dehradun, is the airport near Rishikesh, where I came out of the airport in Dehradun and I saw the beautiful view of the mountains. And then that's when I knew that I was in the right place. I said, wow, this is like so amazing and magical to be there. And that's when I knew in my being, or I knew in my heart, that I made the right decision to come to India. So, and I was so happy to finally arrive in India and to be in Rishikesh, such a holy city. It's such a holy city, and it's world renowned for spirituality, and it's a place that I was so excited to go to. For my first visit to India, to be visiting that city and to be attending this retreat with Mohanji. And so I'd like to share some photos. I'll share a little bit of photos, and I'll continue my story also through those photos. So our hotel, it was so beautiful. It was right on the riverbank of Maganga, or the Ganges. Was breathtaking, and you can hear the sound of the Ganga River flowing through from each of the hotel rooms. And this is just a beautiful scene, beautiful photo that I took from the dining room. I took this photo from the dining room of that a couple days early, just so that I could take in the scenery. And so I was really excited to meet Mohanji, and really excited to attend the program with him. And one of the photos that was in the main hall, the main satsang hall, was this particular photo that I took. And it's a photo of Maftar Babaji. And now that I'm creating this presentation, sharing my story, I realize now that my prayers were answered, and I believe that it was Babaji who helped to connect me to Mohanji, after I understood more about Mohanji's connection to Babaji. And during the retreat, we had our one-on-one sessions with Mohanji, where we could talk to him and ask him personal questions. And so I was so excited to meet him and to ask him to get some answers. And when I met him, I didn't really know, or his true being an advisor or like a counselor to him, to help counsel me and to help lead me, or to help give some guidance for my life, because I was so depressed at the time. So I didn't really know that he was like a world-renowned spiritual guru and things like that. So it started as more of like a counselor. I looked to him in that way, as a counselor. And slowly I began to understand his true stature. And I remember at the end of our session, he said, by the way, There's also a yoga teacher training happening very soon, and maybe you want to ask Sanjay sir about it. And at that time, like I didn't think, like he just made it sound so low key, and like, oh, by the way, there's this thing happening. Maybe you should check it out. And I didn't think that I would ever become a yoga teacher or see myself teaching, because I just didn't have that sense of self-worth within myself. Like I didn't think, saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time, and that, now looking back at that comment that he made, it means so much to me. Because I did listen, and I took his advice to go ahead and do that teacher training. And by the end of the retreat, I'll share another photo. Sorry, this is another photo at the Ganga River in front of Vashista Cave. And Vashista Cave is a little bit more further north of Rishikesh. So the water here was very pristine, and we did take a taste of the water. And I've never tasted water that tasted so pure and clear. It was just very pure, and I've never tasted any other water like it. To be honest, I can't describe it. Fresh and pure and crisp. So this is another photo that where in the morning, one of the days during the retreat, we went to Kunjapori Temple. Kunjapori Temple, which is on top of the mountain, and we went, and it was such a cool sight to go there to see slowly uncovering as the sun comes up from the horizon. It was one of the most memorable, most beautiful experiences that I've ever had. That chance to walk up that mountain with my retreat colleagues. It's one of the most memorable experiences, and it was so amazing. So back to the story of becoming a yoga teacher. I think that he saw some potential in me that I didn't really see in myself at that time. And I just felt so empowered after that, taking his advice and attending that teacher training. And at the end of this retreat, I heard that there was going to be a consciousness Kriya initiation. And so immediately I applied, and I was already planning my second trip back to India, and I hadn't even gone home yet from the first trip. So I planned to come yoga teacher training. And this is a beautiful photo, another photo in front of Vashista Cave with Mohanji. And they say in this cave that Jesus Christ spent some time meditating in this cave during that time where there was a gap, a disappearance. It's believed that he may have visited India, and this special cave, was one of the caves that he may have visited and meditated in. I remember it was very calm and quiet inside that cave. That we had during my second visit to India, we got an opportunity to visit a school in Ganeshpuri, a children's school. It was a school. It was like a Sai Baba children's school, and I just remember walking down the aisle with all the kids on either side of us, and it was so haunting. It was because they were singing, and we just felt like, it was so magical, felt like royalty. And I just remember I had this really good memory of coming here. And Devi was invited to teach and offer a yoga class at this school, and we were so fortunate to come along with her. And this is at the end of this is at the school, and being able to be on stage right after the program, after yoga teacher training and teaching the kids. I just felt that it was like a really, really magical experience, another like magical experience to be on stage and to be teaching yoga right after my teacher training. And it was just such a wonderful experience for me. And I remember it was in the back, and he was watching me. It was such a beautiful experience for me to be on stage with Devi and also my classmate Maya, teaching yoga to these children, and seeing the joy in their eyes and how they were having a good time. It really, really inspired me to also come back and offer yoga classes for kids. And so when I came back, I started teaching yoga to my at the temple where I grew up in, and I was so happy to be able to teach kids. And this is a photo of summer school session where I was teaching a yoga class to the kids, and I just felt it really, really enjoyable to be teaching. Really, through becoming a yoga teacher, to be sitting in front and teaching, and that's like a really, really big deal for me because I was so self-conscious before, low self-confidence, low self-worth, and this was just the beginning of feeling, having some confidence and having the feeling that I can offer something to the world. I can offer something and give back, start giving back by teaching these children. And so after that, after becoming a yoga teacher, I also heard that Mohanji was going to be offering a training to Acharya. And I never thought Acharya training on my own. It was in Virginia. He suggested when I spoke to him to think about applying to being an Acharya, Mohanji Acharya. And I would have never applied on my own. I would have never thought, okay, I'm going to apply. But that was another big, huge, important step for me, for my spiritual evolution in becoming an Acharya and becoming empowered and more confident. And I believe that it was, he was seeing something inside me, seeing potential in the person. He believes in the potential of a person, even though I wasn't believing in myself. And I'm so grateful for that. It means so much for a person who's had a lot of anxiety, feeling low self-worth, and to have someone believe in you, someone saying, believing in you and believing in your potential, seeing the potential, a huge step for me to apply to become an Acharya and to offer these teachings. And it's so weird because I work as a pharmacist and in the hospital, and that's also in a healing profession. But I make a good salary, so I have a good position and I have a good salary. But for some reason, I wasn't feeling fulfilled from within. I kind of felt empty, with that type of work. And with this platform, I feel like that I'm able to fulfill some desires or some passions within me. Because ever since a young age, I always found a lot of joy and a lot of happiness in uplifting people around me. Like I always like to make people laugh or joke around, and I always like to make people kind of feel at ease and like to help solve problems for people. And the spiritual path has led me to a position where I'm able to offer that to the world and be able to help people, be able to help guide. I was lost, being in a position to help people get better, improve their lives, and that's such a huge blessing. Huge blessing, huge opportunity, and a huge platform to have. And there was a lot of transformations that happened after I met Mohanji. I would say that with him, that it's a lot of like experience or experiential experiences that was given. Because you can read about spirituality, or you can read different things, or you could hear about different things, but you're not going to really know or understand it until you experience it for yourself. For example, like you can read about the books about falling in love with a person, or you could watch in the movies about falling in love. But until you get to experience it for yourself in your own heart, you're not going to know what it's like to fall in love. And similar with heartbreak. Like you can hear about people breaking up or people getting divorces, but until you experience that first heartbreak or that first disappointment, heartbreak, until you get that experience for yourself, then you really know and really come to understand what it means, or really the meaning behind it. And so I felt like before, where I was really depressed, stressed out, and anxious, I was a very emotionally reactive person, and shed a lot of those layers and be able to better understand truth, be able to understand what it is to live truth and to live peace or nonviolence is what he expressed. And a really good example of an experiential learning experience is, for example, when my journey to become vegetarian. It was really hard for me to become vegetarian, but I knew that I really wanted to. And through visits to India, and by being around Mohanji, I'm able to understand the oneness between all beings, and being able to better understand that there's a connection between all beings, and that there's we're all manifestations of the divine, supreme consciousness, and to be able to really understand it instead of reading about it. Somehow I'm able to better understand it, and then that helped me on my journey to be. That was really hard for me, and to really experience that oneness, and to understand that eating an animal is almost like eating like your own brother or your own family member. And I couldn't understand that before for some reason, but somehow all of a sudden it clicked inside. I just remember, for example, I was walking in Costco, doing some shopping, grocery shopping, and then I saw, like, in the meat section, or like the freezer section, they kept like a whole body of like pork, or like a pig. It was wrapped. You could kind of see the whole body, and then it was wrapped in covering, like a white cloth bag covering. And I remember walking past it, and then I just had like chills in my spine. I don't know, and that didn't happen before. I mean, it wasn't like that before. I had chills in my spine, and then it's like, what's the difference between like that pork, that pig pork, that piece of pork, or it could might as well be like a human being in there, like a human body wrapped in there, in the freezer section. It just, I don't know, it just gave me chills and like shuddering. So that type of experience, I don't experience, or that type of like connection or understanding that all beings are one, including animals. And in order for me to fully get rid of my anxiety and suffering, how important it is to be vegetarian, because if we're putting in things like food that's been that came from an animal that was tortured, and we're putting that into our body, then that energy also gets lodged into our body. So, but to say it and then to really feel it and understand it is just two different things. Like I'm not sure how to describe it, but that type of understanding. So a lot of transformations happened after meeting Mohanji. I'm much more peaceful within myself. And this all didn't happen overnight. It was like a gradual, slow process, slowly coming out of the anxiety, coming out of the state of contracting. Because when you're living in fear, I was living in a place of constant fear and anxiety, and it was like so contracted. All my muscles were like tense, like this. And then now, after becoming a yoga teacher, taking yoga classes, I understand how to relax my muscles, how to loosen my body, how to breathe. So important for that. And also practicing consciousness kriya has also really helped me connect with my own person, my own inside better. From coming from a place where I was a person who was looking for acceptance from the outside, because I didn't have that self-worth or self-love within me. I was looking for approval from everyone around me. You can't depend on others. You can't base your life on the opinions of others. So that was a really important transition in me becoming more stable within myself. And finally, I would just like to share a last photo. This is a photo taken in the most recent retreat in Sri Lanka, and it was on Mohanji's birthday. And I would like to share a song. I'd like to share a song that was that I'm inspired to share with this photo, and just be chanting Om. And you can feel free to chant together if you want. For the last couple minutes, I'd like to end with. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed my story. I hope you have a wonderful day. Jai Mohanji.